guys, welcome back to another episode of Social Butterfly. Gotta give a disclaimer right now. I made the fatal mistake of doing laundry again while I'm down here recording this episode, so just bear with me if you hear a little background noise. I can't help it. If I'm coming down here already, I'm gonna be productive with that time, you know what I mean? I thought today I could start things off with my new current 5 favorite things. It's been like a month, I think, since I did my last one, so there's a little refresh, a few new obsessions in there. And then I also wanted to talk about summer is wedding season, and shockingly we don't have any weddings this summer. We have a ton this fall though, which as a fellow fall bride, wedding anniversary, whatever you want to call it, person, I am super excited about. I love a fall wedding. But yeah, so I just wanted to talk a little wedding stuff in here too. I wanted to get started first with my top 5 things. I feel like the biggest thing of note right now is Love Island season 7. I'm in deep and I'm watching it in real time with season 6. So I had never watched Love Island before season 6, and then I saw everything about the season online and on TikTok, and I was like, okay, I have to see what is going on here, and I was hooked. But I started like halfway through the season, and so the whole time I was just kind of playing catch up until like the reunion, pretty much. Like I think I finished the last episode like a day or two before the reunion. But this time I am watching like pretty much in real time. Like there's been a couple days here and there where I haven't been able to watch, but otherwise I'm watching in real time. And holy cow, it's so fun. Like it's so fun to like be a part of it like online and like hearing people talk about each episode like every night. I'm also, just as someone with like a bit of a broadcasting background, I am so curious as to how they are editing all of this so quickly. Like they must have a team of editors just constantly going to be putting these episodes out every single night with all of that hidden camera footage to put together to make an episode. But I've had a lot of, I don't think a lot of opinions about this season, but like things have happened and I'm like, whoa. First and foremost, I don't know why they're trying to torture these poor people, but I feel like there have been way more like recouplings and eliminations this season that the Islanders have had to choose who stays or who goes, and that is insane. Because you think about it, they are spending 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for 6 weeks in this one place with all these people. Like you get close really fast. And so I see some people saying online like, why are they crying, why are they so upset, like they've only known these people for like a week, 2 weeks. You're spending that amount of time with people, you're getting to know them real well. So they just keep doing that to them, and I feel really bad for them. The most interesting thing to me that has happened, well, first of all, and if you're not caught up on Love Island, I'm going to warn you now, there are going to be some spoilers in this, so listen with caution. One of the most notable things to me was that Alandria and Nick elimination, where then they got to come back. And I feel like we kind of breezed over that, especially when they like told Sierra about it. And so I feel like during movie night, that's going to get messy because a lot of these people in there are operating as if movie night's not a thing. Maybe they don't know it's a thing. They should know it's a thing. So that'll be really interesting. But that whole plot twist was wild. I hadn't seen any of the like Nick and Alandria shipping online before that episode. So I was so confused when I got on TikTok and like Instagram and stuff, and people are so excited about it. I'm like, whoa, like where have I been? It went right over my head apparently. But then the Stand on Business challenge, I've already talked on here about how I am a sensitive girly. I never would have survived that challenge. Our sweet Amai Papaya, the way that people were piling on her. I talked about this on like my main TikTok, but like it was really nice to see. Now, granted, I did notice this, like after I made that TikTok, I kind of was thinking back. None of the girls got up in the moment to stand up for her, but they did follow her afterwards and like have been supportive of how, sensitive and emotional she is. Also love Brian sticking up for her and like that little relationship blossoming. Love that. But like I love that America loves her because she is so real and authentic, and like she is sensitive, but she's not ashamed of that. And oh, I just love that. But also, that stand on business challenge is kind of making me a Huda apologist. Not a Huda defender. Let's make sure we have that noted. But a Huda apologist a little bit, because why are we blaming this woman for everything? Seems a little unnecessary. I don't know. I think she might have gone too far in the heart rate challenge, for sure. But like her being so willing to like talk about it and own up, take accountability, and then Shelly just being like, actually, I'm gonna wait and I'm gonna air this all out in front of everybody. Like, that rubbed me the wrong way. I didn't really like that. And I am impressed with the accountability that Huda has shown. I also really like her and Chris together. I think he handles her very well. I think he is able to like give feedback to her, let her know when maybe she's doing a little too much, but do it in a way that she doesn't come off defensive or like a continuous fight. And I think they're like a good balance together. I don't know. I like it. I'm excited to see where that keeps going. So overall, Love Island, really, really big in my life right now. I've even made like a couple TikToks about it, which is not something I like normally do. So yeah, that's been fun. I've also cried like every other episode. I don't watch a lot of reality TV, and perhaps that is why, because I get really invested, and in turn, I get really upset. The other thing that I'm into right now is also a show. I don't know if any of you watched Overcompensating on Prime, but it is so good. I'm to the last episode. I haven't watched the very last episode of the first season yet, but I really like it. It kind of reminds me, this might be embarrassing, I don't know. It kind of reminds me of Blue Mountain State, if anyone ever watched that, except like a more like progressive PC Blue Mountain State. But that's like kind of what it reminds me of. But because it's just like a show about, being in college, and the time it's set in is like college, like when I was in college. So I think that that's really fun. But I really like it. It's really fun. Shout out to my friend Sam for showing me that show and getting me into it, because I've really been liking watching that. What else? I feel like this isn't a surprise, but it's just something of note that I'm really into right now, and that is my Alani's. I've been really trying to cut down on my caffeine intake lately because I was getting eye twitches. And I'm pretty sure that probably had a lot to do with it. But like I have a coffee every morning, and I try my best to make them at home. And when I make them at home, I just make like a double espresso. And so that's usually like maybe 100 milligrams of caffeine. And so then in the afternoon, I'll either have a full size Alani, which is like 200 milligrams, or like right now, well, it's really late in the day for me to be drinking this. So this isn't, I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth here right now, but they have the mini Alani's, and I got that Paradise pack, so it's like Hawaiian shaved ice, Orange Kiss, and Strawberry Sunrise minis. Love. So these ones are only 100 milligrams, or I'll have like a pop, but I won't have like all. So if I'm having an Alani in the afternoon, I won't have a Diet Coke, or vice versa, and then the rest of the night I'll just like drink water. Yeah, so kind of trying to keep that in check, but I am still really on an Alani kick. My favorite flavors right now, I'm so glad you asked, thank you, are cotton candy. That's the newest flavor. I still really like the sherbet swirl, and then I'm a huge pink slush girly, and juicy peach. There's not a lot of flavors I don't like. I would say the ones that I don't like are like the cherry ones, like cherry slush. Cherry lime twist is okay, but like it's not my fave. But yeah, so really, really on my Alani kick, hoping, praying, begging for the Alani PR team to notice me. Please, I'm your biggest fan. But yeah, it's just, and I drink them. I don't even drink them as much for the caffeine. It's just like for a little treat, just like a little something. Also, I'm only really into this right now because it's like super relevant. I don't know if you can see, but I've got a little pimple patch on right now. Really into pimple patches right now. I'm a pimple patch believer, but here's my thing. Like, I don't And not to be like, oh, I don't get zits, like, but I don't break out very often, I will just say. But when I do, it's usually during that time of the month, and is usually on my chin. So I just got over having a zit over here. Now I've got one on the other side. So I've got a pimple patch on it right now, and I have the starry face one on right now. I don't really think they work. Alex says they do, so I'm giving them another go. But usually I use like the Hero Mighty Patch ones, and those are amazing. Amazing, amazing. But I always, like, I am not a pimple popper. I do not like, I think it's so gross. I cannot do it to myself. I will never do it for somebody else. And I just like don't want to do that because like that can leave scars, and I obviously don't want that. So I'm a pimple patch fiend. The second I just even feel one popping up, I'll slap one on there and pray. But then no, they usually work pretty well. I think my fifth thing, right, I mean, this isn't like a new thing, but I think my fifth thing right now is just like been really on the TikTok grind lately. I don't know if I've talked about this on here, but I have been posting on TikTok. I kind of made like a little challenge for myself to try to post every single day. And I've been doing that since like January, and I've been pretty consistent with it. There's only been like stretches of 3 or 4 days max, where I haven't posted, but I've for sure posted every week since then. I've kind of started to post like twice a day too, and I'm doing it solely for the fact of like it's fun, and kind of just the same purpose as like having this podcast is just like building community, and like it's fun to interact with people online and like make friends, like mutuals and whatever. So it's been really fun. I'm up to 300 followers. Woo woo. But again, like I'm not, would it be cool to like monetize and get PR? Like, of course, right? Everyone thinks that's fun and cool, but I don't know, it's just fun. Like, I like making videos. I like posting. I love social media. I mean, like, yeah, I just really like it. So, I mean, it's just really for fun, but it's been really fun lately. And I feel like my algorithm, my For You page has gotten to be a lot of like smaller creators as well. So like, that's kind of fun. So yeah, those are my 5 things for right now. Or I did want to talk about today, weddings, and more specifically my wedding. I just got to go to a bridal shower of a friend of mine last weekend who is getting married in September. Great month to get married, in my opinion. And that was so much fun. And during one of the games that we did, people went around and said like their favorite part of weddings. And as people were like listing things off, seeing the bride come down the aisle, watching the groom's face as the bride comes down the aisle, the reception, the food, the flowers, the dress, it just like got me thinking about how much I love weddings. I really do love weddings. And I've been seeing a lot of like discourse on TikTok lately. A lot of people talking about like trends I would never do, or like making fun of, decor or themes of weddings, which like I know like now looking back on like, I don't know, early 2000s weddings, like a pink and green color scheme like might not be a lot of people's cup of tea right now, but like if it is, I'm a firm believer in like that is your day. You do what you want. You decorate how you want. You wear the dress that makes you feel good and beautiful. You serve the food that you like. Like, people are there for you. And one of my like most like my favorite things about weddings is like that is really like one of the only times that all of your friends and family are going to be in one singular place, all brought together by you and your partner, and it's just a day full of love and like fun, and you have all your favorite people in the same spot, and I just love that so much. So I wanted to talk about things with our own wedding, not like trends I hate or things I would never do, whatever. I'm not trying to yuck someone's yum here, like you do you. But I wanted to go through some things that like I really like that we did on our day, and not many of them are like super profound or like things that no one else has done, but just like that I'm glad that we included it, and then maybe a few things that like I would redo. Not that I'm, I hate that we did it, or like I wish we hadn't done it. Not that, but just like some things I would redo if given the chance. And the likes list is a lot longer than the redo, so I'm gonna go like 2 for every one, I guess. And especially, I feel like I'll probably circle back on this topic, but once September comes, because it is Alec and I's 5-year wedding anniversary this year. So it's kind of fun to reminisce on everything that we did. Ooh, my washer's done. So a lot of the background noise might have just like kind of. Okay. Anyway, let's get into this list. The first thing that I have that I love that we did was we did do a first look. And we did that mainly because of pictures. Because our venue, we got married, like the ceremony was in the same grounds as the reception. Like they were just two different buildings on the same grounds. So we just wanted to get as many pictures done before the ceremony as possible. So then we had some time in between the ceremony and the reception to do our thing, and we wouldn't have to keep people waiting for really long. And so I'm glad we did our first look. It was also like, it was really personal. But it was also kind of fun because you could see like some of our wedding party like watching from the windows, and like there were pictures of them just like crouched down and all of them smiling, watching us. And I think that's so fun. So like I'm glad that we did a first look. I think they're kind of like falling out of trend right now. I think a lot of people are switching back to waiting until the bride walks down the aisle, and that is also great because I love seeing a groom cry as the bride walks down the aisle. So I love that too. But like personally, I'm glad that we did a first look, mainly just for logistical reasons, honestly. Another thing that I really liked that we did was, and we had seen this done at a wedding we had gone to a couple years before, maybe like for the first time, but now a lot of people do it, is when the ceremony is done, after everyone walks out, then the bride and groom come back in and kind of greet everyone as you leave. So like we would dismiss you, and it does take longer, like you're sitting in there longer, but like it was a really great way. We at least got to say hi and thank everyone for coming personally. Now, some of the people, that was the only time we had a chance to talk to them, because in your reception, you're here and there and talking to people, and you're eating and you're dancing, and you do not have a chance to talk to everybody at your reception. So I'm really glad that we did that, because it gave us a chance to give everyone a hug, say hi, say thank you so much for coming. I really like that we did that. Now, speaking of greeting everyone, one thing that I would redo is not getting married during COVID. So we got married in 2020, and it was really interesting timing. Our wedding was the end of September in 2020, and we live in the Midwest, and so a lot of restrictions were not as strict here as they were in other parts of the country. And specifically, like in summer and fall of 2020, people kind of thought things were dying down, and we were going to be in the clear. Anyway, but so when everything started in March and people were kind of asking us like, hey, are you worried about your wedding? And at the time everyone's like, oh, 2 weeks it'll be done. So we're like, no, nah, we're not worried. Everything will be fine. And then it got closer, then it got closer, and then you kind of hit a window where like you can't cancel a lot of things. And so we did decide to go through with it and to get married. We did have, I wouldn't say quite a few people, but like a decent number of people who didn't come because of COVID. And it was a bummer because a lot of that was family. And so, yeah, if I could redo it, like I would keep basically everything the same, but let's just like not during a pandemic. Yeah, hopefully that will never happen in anyone else's lifetime that is listening to this podcast right now, but wouldn't recommend. Thank goodness nobody got sick from our wedding. We did, since the ceremony was inside, we did ask that everyone wore masks during the ceremony, because like you were essentially forced to be in close proximity with other people. Now during the reception, you can spread out as much as you want. It was a big area. There's plenty of room. But during the ceremony, when you're all sitting next to each other, we did ask people to wear masks just out of safety. But it did add a layer of anxiety that I definitely could have lived without. Not a lot of wedding planning for me was stressful. I thought it was really fun. Like there was not a lot of things that I was like worried about. The only time I felt stressed was when I would think about the COVID aspect. And like maybe the day before when we were like setting up, and like I realized I was the only one who knew where anything went and everyone was asking me questions and it's stressing me out. One of the things I love too, like I kind of said, we had some time between the ceremony and the reception, and during that time we just like hung out with our wedding party in there was like a bridal and a groom suite, and so I think we hung out in the bridal suite, which now as I'm thinking about it, I'm like, why did we do that? Because the groom suite had like a pool table and stuff, but whatever. We went and hung out with our bridal party and like some of our really close friends like in the bridal suite, you know, had a couple drinks and just kind of hung out, because we didn't do a party bus because like I said, our locations were at, or like the buildings were in the same location, and so a party bus would not have made sense because we would have, hi Remy, because we would have like just gone. It's not like we would have left from the ceremony space, we would have had time to go drive around to go to a new location. Like we literally would have gotten on a bus from there, left, and come back. And some people I know do that, and that's fine, but like we just didn't want to spend the money for that, so we just all went out and hung out in our bridal suite, and it was just nice to like get to spend some time with our friends after we had just gotten married, and just hang out with them and like be able to thank them for everything that they had done. We had the best bridal party ever. Everyone who was involved with our wedding was so great. Groomsmen, bridesmaids, personal attendants, friends who stepped in to help last minute, just everything in between. It was so much fun. I say this all the time, just like in our everyday life, but we're so blessed with some of just like the best friends in the world. So it was really special to just like have that time with them and just like celebrate, because it's fun. Another thing that I really liked that we did, kind of in relation to that, is I know a lot of, or like it's tradition that like you're not supposed to, the bride and groom are supposed to hang out the night before the wedding. And like we didn't see each other until like our first look the day of, but the night before, like we got done with the rehearsal dinner, and then we all just, our whole wedding party just hung out together. And we like didn't stay up super late or get too crazy, obviously, because we had things to do the next day. But it was fun to just like all hang out together and spend time together the night before. I didn't really feel the need to like keep it separate or anything like that. Again, that is your own personal preference. If you want to like just have that night with your girls, great. And I still felt like I got that just because they were all there with me, but it was just fun to like all kind of hang out together. Something that we did during the reception that I don't know if I would do again is we did a bouquet toss, which was great. We also did the garter toss, and like now looking back, I don't know if we needed to do that. We didn't make it like some big spectacle show thing, but Alec just like grabbed it and then threw it, and it was fine, but it's like, what is that person gonna do with that garter then? You know what I mean? So I don't think we would have needed to do that if I were to redo anything. We also did the shoe game, which like that was fun. I should have thought of questions ahead of time. If I'm remembering right, I don't think that I did. Am I making that up? Maybe that's like something I forgot to do. And so like my best friend was like Googling right before, which was fine. Like it was not that deep. But it was actually kind of funny because I had taken my shoes off because I got tired of them. I wore like a low heel, but I still was like over it, and had put them in my bridal suite. And then we went to do the game, and so I used one of my mom's shoes to hold up for mine. And like I think that's fun, and I think that that's fun to watch like at other people's weddings. But I guess not that I wouldn't do it again. I would just maybe be a little bit more prepared. And you know, that's just like, it's like fun to watch, but I think you have to do it early enough in the reception where like people are still kind of sitting down eating to watch it, rather than like having to clear off the whole dance floor to do it. But I will say our DJ was fantastic, because we were like up talking to people the whole time during our reception. So our DJ was fantastic with like coming and finding us for these things. Can you see Remy's nose right there on the end? You can. She's on the couch next to me, and her nose is just poking over the armrest. That's so funny. But he was great about coming to find us for everything. Another thing that we did that I really liked that we did is we wrote each other letters. We didn't read them in front of people like during our ceremony. That's not an Alec thing to do. We wrote the letters, but then they were just between the two of us. They are like, we read them and they're featured like in our video. but we didn't like read them standing up in front of everybody, if that makes sense. But I am glad that we did that. There is actually a mention of Remy in our wedding video, which is so cute because we didn't even have her yet, but we knew we wanted to get a dog and name her Remy. But I'm just glad that we wrote those to each other and we still have them, and it was just really meaningful, and I love that that is a thing that people do, and I'm glad that we did it too. We also, and this is definitely something that is more like religion dependent, but our ceremony was pretty short. I think it was maybe 20 minutes, I think. We did have my pastor from like my hometown church like officiate the ceremony, which we wanted. Like we really like him, have a great relationship with him, and like wanted him to do that. But we weren't getting married in a church, so we didn't really think we needed like all the extra things that like normally come with a church ceremony. And it's kind of funny because I was raised very religious, not like strict, but just like I went to church every single Sunday. And I remember we were going through like the order of ceremony when we got to that point with our pastor, and he was like, you know, here's like kind of a template, but you can mix and match and move things around and take things out and whatever. There's just like a couple things if you like want it to kind of be a religious ceremony that I would say you need to keep in there. I said to him, I was like, so what can I take out without upsetting my grandmother? Because it was like a little point of contention that we weren't getting married at my hometown church. Not huge, but like a little bit. But I think having our pastor officiate made it better. But so we had, you know, I think we had a prayer in there. One of our brothers read a verse and the other one read like a poem or something that we had found. I think it was called Love is Friendship Caught on Fire, I believe, and I really liked that. And then our pastor gave a little like 5-minute message, and it was nice because it was very personal. He knew us. We had like a couple like premarital sessions before, but even before that, like he knew us pretty well, so that was nice. I feel like you can always tell when you go to a wedding and like the pastor maybe doesn't know the couple like super well, but he did. And then, you know, we had our vows and everything, and then we were done. I think we were walking down the aisle by the end of 20 minutes, so I liked that. But also it just depends on what religion you are. You know, there are some denominations of Christianity that have a longer service, and that is meaningful to them, and that is totally fine. There are just, you know, other religious denominations that have traditions in their services that make them longer. Whatever. I liked that ours was shorter. So when we got our DJ, we filled out a sheet of like, you know, our first dance song, the father-daughter dance, which we ended up having to change because my papa passed away and it wasn't a father-daughter dance anymore. The mother-son dance, you know, if we specifically wanted any certain songs, things like that. And I had put on there like a song at the end, and it's, oh gosh, no, I can't even tell you what the title is. It's a song from the very last episode of The Office. It's called All the Faces by Creed Bratton. And I like that it played at the end, but I also feel like people didn't like really get to hear it because like people were leaving and, you know, the shuttles were being announced and blah, blah, blah. So I wish that we had maybe cleared everyone out and then that had played as our last song, like just us two together in the reception. I think that would have been really special. It was special in general, just having it as our final song, but I think maybe just sharing it between the two of us would have been really special. I did, for the songs that we walked into for the ceremony, I did have them like timed, which like at the time to me seemed kind of extra, but now I'm learning that like people do that, so I feel a lot better about that. But our wedding party and I walked down to the instrumental version of Love Me Like You Do, and I really wanted like the swell and crescendo after the bridge to be like, that is when I walked down the aisle. So I kind of had to time out like when each group went of our wedding party and like our flower girls and our ring bearer, so then it would be on time for me to go down at that time. And it worked out really well. I don't think it was like super tricky. I kind of explained it well to people of what to listen for to go, and they all executed it perfectly. Snaps to all of you. Thank you for that. And it was great because like I knew that it was perfectly timed like when I was walking down, and I was just so happy about it. So I'm really glad that I did that, and that like even though it felt extra to me, like it ended up being something really special and cool that I'm glad that I did. So if you're questioning anything like that, um, it's not too much, it's not too extra. If it's gonna make you feel great in that moment, do it. Another thing that I would maybe redo, and this is just something silly, just in hindsight, but like we ran out of seltzer so fast. So fast. We had like 3 kegs. I want to say we had like 2 kegs of Busch Light and like maybe one of like either Mick Ultra or like Coors Light or something like that. And I think by the end we had a half a keg left. But then we had like canned beer and canned seltzers, and the seltzers ran out like I want to say like halfway through dinner even. But luckily we had kind of told some of our friends that like this venue is technically like a BYOB, and so they had brought like coolers, and so they were able to like still have some. But I would double triple up on the seltzers next time if we were to go back and do it all over again. Another thing that I really like that we did, and I love that this has become like a tradition for weddings now, is having like a late night snack. Love that. Like when you get the drunk munchies, it's great. And we did, if you know me, my favorite food is chicken strips. I think we covered that in my Get to Know Me episode. So we had chicken strips as our late night snack, and I was so happy about it with like a ton of different sauces. It was so fun. And there's a picture somewhere of me in my wedding dress, like eating a chicken strip, and it is just like a very on brand, quintessential picture of me, and I love it. So I'm really glad that we did that and that I was able to have chicken strips, even though it wasn't our main meal. We were still able to incorporate them in some way. I thought that was really fun. And I love that people do that because you can get so creative with it and like really make it tailored to you and like the things that you like, the snack that you like, a food that you like. So I think that that's really fun. And then I personally, we did allow requests with our DJ. And I like that because like for us anyway, we were on the dance floor a little bit, but we were talking to a lot of people for majority of the time. And so it was like our dance floor was full the whole time. I mean, shout out to our friends. They kept that thing going, which was great. And I think part of that is because they got to request some songs, things that they wanted to hear so that they would be out on the dance floor tearing it up. So I know some people don't allow requests with their DJ, and that's totally fine. Like that's your personal preference. I understand it either way, but I'm glad that we did allow it just because like there was people out on the dance floor the whole time. And I love that even if we weren't out there, we were busy talking. Anytime I turned and looked, it was a full dance floor, and I just love that. It made me so happy. So the very last thing that I would say would be like a redo is, and I'm so sorry, Nana, but we didn't end up actually getting to take home like any of our food afterwards for leftovers. The next day when we were all there like tearing down and cleaning up and whatever, my Nana was in charge. She was like divvying up the food and getting it into containers, which was great. I'm so thankful that she like took the helm on that. But she like gave it to everyone but us. Like I think our brothers, between my brother and then Alex's brothers, got majority of the food, and we were kind of like, what the heck? Where's ours? I think my Nana like took some home with her too, which I think maybe it with the idea that like that would be ours, maybe, I don't know, but we really didn't end up with like any food for us to take home. It like went home with our family members, which like great, glad that people were eating it, but would have been nice to have it for ourselves because we had great food. We did cheesy pulled chicken and pulled pork, and then I couldn't even list for you all like the sides that we did because I don't remember. But I just remember it being like good. It was good food. And so I remember we got home and we were like, wait, we didn't get any food. So would maybe redo that a little bit. So just a heads up, if you're planning a wedding, have an idea of where you want leftovers to go if you're having someone to take care of it rather than leaving people to their own devices. But yeah, there was overall just our wedding day. think was great. Like I said, planning and everything wasn't super stressful. We didn't like decorate a ton, and what we did decorate, like my mother-in-law helped out so much with, my family helped out so much with, our friends went in and like helped set it up. It was just like a pretty simple decorating, and I loved it. I'm very like happy with that decision, because just the venue itself, you didn't really need to decorate it that much if you like didn't want to. And I loved my dress. Like I said, we had the best wedding party. Oh, another thing that I loved. Let me circle back here real quick. I did, and this is something that I thought about doing when we like started planning our wedding. Like I started making a color scape like the weekend that Alec proposed. And that was, I have been seeing a lot of people doing different colored bridesmaids dresses. And now that's like pretty common. I feel like weddings are even more shifting back to all matching. But I knew that I wanted different ones. And I knew that I wanted like peach and like burgundy to be like our main colors. But then I wanted the rest of my bridesmaids dresses to kind of be like a sunset color palette. So my maid of honor wore maroon, and then it was peach, like a dusty pink, it wasn't like gray, it was like a really pretty like brownish gray, and then a like desert rose, like dusty rose color, and they were so beautiful, very fall. Each color like complemented each person so well, and I also let them pick the style of dress that they wanted. I really like that as well. Even if you do the same color, I like when people let your bridesmaids pick their own style too, because like even though obviously people say you're going to rewear it, you're not going to rewear it, okay? But you want to be in a style that makes you feel comfortable and that makes you feel beautiful. So I had them like send me it just to like see it before they bought it, but I don't think there was any ones that I was like, no. I don't, actually, no, there wasn't. There was no one that I said no to. So I just let them pick their own styles, and I just loved how it turned out. I think they all looked so beautiful, and each like dress and color was just like unique to them, and I loved that so much. I can't believe I almost forgot that. What the heck? That was like my favorite part of it. That, well, not my favorite part. Everything was my favorite part, but like that was one of the big things I love that we did. And then Alex's tie, his tie was maroon. I found this tie on Etsy. It was maroon, but that had little white and peach flowers on it, which was perfect. And then all of his groomsmen had maroon ties, and then our brothers, Alex's dad and his grandpa had peach ties. But yeah, that just like pulled together really well. I loved our clothing choices. I just loved the day. Like it was just such a wonderful day, made so much in part by the people that were there, and just having all of our favorite people in one spot. Like it was just great. It obviously we were missing people during that day, and you know, especially my papa, who was supposed to be such a big part of the day. But overall, I mean, it was a wonderful day. I would go back and relive it 100 times over. It was so great. And that's all the breakdown of wedding stuff I think that I have. I'm sure I'm going to get done with this and like think of a million other things, but just kind of want to go through some of like the highlights of things that we did. I didn't want to spend too much time on the redos because overall not a lot that I would redo. It was such a great day. But happy wedding season. I love weddings. And I love wedding season, summer, fall. It's so fun getting to see your friends, getting to celebrate your friends who are getting married, or your family, whoever it is. It's so much fun. So I'm going to end this. We're going to do a couple self-love cards here. Let me draw a couple out. I drew from the number 2 spot, which is like the present. And well, the first one I drew was just like a reminder card that they have in here, and I thought it was really sweet, so I thought I'd read it. It says, reminder, being gentle and kind is not a weakness, which I feel like is pretty on theme, talking about the Love Island stuff, and just a good reminder for myself, that being soft is not a bad thing at all. All right. The first question that I drew, though, says, what do you need more than you'd like to admit? And it's really funny because I drew it and like immediately the answer popped into my head, and that was validation. And I wish that I didn't need it so much, and I'm working on not needing it, but I fear that it is a big thing for me. And more than I, like the card said, more than I would like to admit, it's a big thing for me. But we all want to feel validated, right? I mean, I feel like that's a pretty common human experience, but I know for a fact for myself that. And so that's why when I'm doing this podcast or when I'm posting TikToks, I'm focusing so much on just like, this is fun for me. This is content I like. And I go back and watch my TikToks all the time, or like my Instagram stories, whatever, because I enjoy what I'm posting. And that is really the point, because your social media is your own to do whatever you want with, like within reason. Like, don't be mean. But, you know, as far as posting what you want, if you like a selfie, post it. If you see a fun quote, post it. If you make a silly video or you make a get ready with me and you like how you look, post it. Like, I think social media is so personalized, and I think if we all treated it more and posted what we wanted versus what we think other people would want to see, we'd all be better for it. So, and this is me like telling myself this. So like, listen back, girl. Okay. And the other one I drew says, what do you consider yours? And that's an interesting one, because I feel like we want to think like material things when we consider yours. But when I think of this, I would say like the love that Alec and I have is mine. Well, it's ours, but it's mine. The love that I have for other people, the way that I care for and love other people is mine. I consider that my superpower. I consider that my like thing that I try to give out the most to other people, and that is mine. Like, the way that I interact with other people is mine. But also, I think something like that I could work on being mine is like the way I see and value myself is mine. I don't know if this is what this card actually means, but this is how I'm interpreting it. Your self-worth, right? That's yours. That is mine. And you want to own nice things, right? You want to have lovely things in your life. And so that should be part of it. That should be a nice, lovely thing that you have in your life that you can own and is yours. But I think having that love, especially like for my family, for like Alec, for my mom, my brother, for Remy, for my friends, for the rest of our family, Alec's family, that love, it is, I consider that mine to give, I guess is a good way to say that. But I really like that card. It's an interesting, because I feel like you could interpret that many, many different ways, and I'm sure there's not like one correct way to interpret it, but I think that's an interesting card. Okay. Thank you for listening to another episode 11 of Social Butterfly. I'm so glad that you're here. Thank you for being here. If you want to keep up with more Social Butterfly stuff, I'm on TikTok and Instagram, and you can watch these episodes on YouTube if you're listening right now. But that'll do it for this episode, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.